Thank you very much, dear Virginie. Thank you very much, dear colleagues, dear friends or our guests. I will say it up front in the start. I believe that this treaty that is being debated and that is trying to be implemented next year is nothing more but a tool of basically an organization that has failed miserably in COVID crisis to have even more control over the population, but this time not just in the Western world or a greater part of the world, but the whole world. Let's go a few years back and make a short assessment what we have seen and what we have suffered. So I address you today to discuss the state of fundamental rights during COVID-19 crisis. The response to the crisis has led to a massive erosion of human rights and basic rights and freedoms. Not the virus itself, not the disease, but the response of the governments to this virus. And this erosion threatens to become permanent if we don't take any action or if we stop taking action. Many governments have used the virus as an excuse to trample on fundamental rights. Freedom of movement, I remind you, has been severely restricted, with many countries imposing strict lockdowns and travel bans. This has had a devastating impact on the economy and on the people's ability to live their lives as they see fit. Many have been unable to see their loved ones, attend funerals, or even leave their homes for extended periods of time. Freedom of assembly has also been curtailed, with governments banning large gatherings and protests. This has made it difficult for the people to express their opinion and to hold their leaders accountable. In some cases, governments have used the virus as an excuse to crack down on dissidents and to silence opposition voices. As we can also see now regarding one of the greatest social networks in the world, Twitter, we can see that Twitter was used by this corrupt corporation that was controlled by a different administration at that time, by different CEOs. So we have a marriage of a corporation and corrupt government colluding together against people's freedoms. They have made such an algorithm, they have made such protocols for their employees to censor and restrict freedom of speech and freedom of expression. One of the basic human rights, fundamental rights, etc., 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 coming all down to patients' rights and many others. They have done this. So privacy rights have also been undermined, with many governments using tracking applications and other surveillance measures to monitor their citizens' movements and activities. This has raised serious concerns about government overreach and the potential for the abuse of power. Finally, the right to education has been severely impacted, with many schools and universities closed or forced to conduct classes online. This, of course, has had a disproportionate impact on disadvantaged communities and on students who lack access to the technology and the resources needed for online learning. Finally, we have this pandemic treaty as a great danger that intends to take away our rights, to take control over national health policies and sovereignty of nations, and transferring this power and this policy making to a centralized, global, in great part privately funded, and I must say corrupt international organization called World Health Organization. Unless we take action to address this erosion, we risk living in a world where basic human rights are no longer respected or protected. We must hold political leaders accountable, and we, of course, must elect better political leaders and demand that our rights are respected at all times, even in time of crisis, especially in the time of crisis. The future of our democracy depends on it, the future of our children, the future of the entire human civilization depends on what we do now. Thank you very much. I must say I'm very honored to be among you here today. This is one of our many gatherings and many yet to come. In the end, it comes to a very simple choice. Just say no to bad policies, no matter the cost. Thank you.